If you're looking for a budget with me video that makes you think, wow, these people really have it all together, then this video is not for you. We finally got locked in on our finances and immediately had an appliance break. And I also discovered that apparently I can't add numbers on camera. So let's get this budget updated. Hi, I'm Julie from the Bradley Edit, and today we're going to be going over our Paycheck 1 in July. Let's get started with fixing the math error from the last video. So I had the RRSP number wrong. It's actually $38,803. This is 15,081, which means our total investments are $54,273. Okay, let's get into things. So something that I discovered after making my last video is I didn't really love how I had set up my subscriptions. I had it set to once a month on the 19th, but that's not the reality of my subscriptions. They come out several times. So I'm going to go to the core budget into this July template. And you can see here, this is what I had was the subscriptions coming out on the 19th of $98. Then I got looking at my credit cards, and all of my subscriptions are on 2 different credit cards and come out at various times during the month. So what I decided to do is go back and put these into my budget, indicate what credit card they're coming out on and what day of the month they're coming out on. And actually, we're spending less than I thought on subscriptions, which is good. It's a good thing to check in with your subscriptions every once in a while, because sometimes you can be paying for things that you're no longer using. Okay, so after I added these into this core biweekly template, I'm going to take a copy of this, and we're going to go to the July 1st paycheck and add in anything that's missing. Make this calendar a bit smaller. All right, so it looks like I'm going to just simply remove everything from here down. And then we're going to do everything up to the 14th. I'm going to move these all over to the actual and out of the expected, because I hadn't had them under my expected column. So all my other bills had come out. I guess this one I had on my budget that I was expecting it to be 106, but it was actually 110. Our cable bill went up a tiny bit. 135. So all of our fixed expenses ended up adding up to 2,443. Okay, let's go back up to the income because I kind of skipped over that. So when our pays came in, income A was actually 2,445 and income B was 1,980. And then I ended up getting some cash of $80. So total is $46.85. So let's get into our variable expenses. So right off the hop on July 2nd, we had to buy a fridge. So the story on the fridge is it had been kind of having some issues prior to our vacation. We had to unplug it and the compressor started working again. When we returned from our vacation the next day, the fridge was no longer working. The compressor would not come on. So we immediately moved to using a mini fridge that we have in the basement, and we went and got ice and put everything in coolers. We lived like that for a week, and during that week we tried to replace the relay, which my husband had. That didn't work, and then the next thing pointed to that it was the control panel inside. So I purchased a new control panel on Amazon for $112 and replaced it, and it still didn't work. And as you can see, the other control panel that was in the fridge had been burnt up. So there was something really wrong with this fridge. It owed us nothing. It was in our home when we bought it in 2012. It served us well. So I was just disappointed that right at the beginning of our, trying to tighten up on our finances, immediately day one, a fridge broke. So we looked around and found a local appliance shop that had an amazing deal on a fridge with delivery, removal of my old fridge, and a 5-year warranty. The total for the new fridge came out to $1,310 and could be delivered the very next day. So by Friday, we had a new fridge, which was fabulous. It doesn't match the other appliances in my kitchen, and I didn't care because it was a need purchase. It's working very well. I'm glad to have a fridge back. So that was an emergency expense right off the hop, but I didn't let it deter me. I just tried to do my best, cut back as much as I can, and you'll see as I write in these expenses that we had quite a few necessities that came up this week, but I'm really proud of how we kept our groceries pretty reined in. So I did a grocery shop on July 5th. I go every Sunday. So I got groceries on the 5th, and that was $156. Then we got gas on the 6th, $96. Then we had prescriptions on the 7th, and it was $20. Fun fact, both of my kids had ear infections last week. So we were to the doctor a couple of times, and both kids had a round of antibiotics. I am going to physio. I have some tendonitis in one of my rotator cuffs, so I'm trying to get that treated. So you'll see I had quite a few physio appointments this week, and that is why. Just trying to get my life in order here. Another prescription run, $9. I bought some weights for my physio exercises. That was $11. And another physio appointment. $17. Then I had a pool party, and I made a couple stops, and I had some drinks and candy. And I bought those on the 10th and the 11th. And here I spent $24 and then another $9. That $9 was just for salt and lime juice to make margaritas. I couldn't believe the price. Then I did another grocery run on the 12th, and that run was $174. Distilled water for the CPAP and hair products. My daughter and I both have curly hair, so we use quite a few hair products here. So that was on the 12th, and I spent $18. Then we had to gas up our car again on the 12th, $93. And then another physio appointment. on the 14th for 17. So excluding the fridge, we spent a total for these 2 weeks of $661, which I'm pretty happy about. So what I find easy to do is we're going to copy down this, which is our variable budget. This over. So we can assign a color to each of these. So a highlighter color. So let's say red is gas. Then we can do yellow for groceries. Green for household. And blue for entertainment. So let's go through and highlight all the categories out of here. So for entertainment, that would be the drinks. All right, next up, let's do gas. Gas. And then we'll do groceries next. So both of my grocery runs, I went to both Costco and Walmart. And then last up, we will do the household. So that's all these prescriptions, physiotherapy. So you can see most of these are needs, not wants. All right, so now we're going to write the total. I'm going to leave the fridge off separate because I'm not going to include that in our variable expenses. If I had a good sinking fund amount, that would come out of there, but instead it's going to sit on our credit card for a minute. So let's go total up each category. So for gas, we have $189. Groceries, $330. Then we have $109 for household. And I spent $33 on entertainment. So there's our $661 instead of the $1070, which would be in our typical budget. So I underspent on the variable spending by $409, which doesn't quite make up for the fridge, but it's better than nothing. Okay, so let's move over to here. So we'll update the income, which was $46.85. Then the fixed expenses were $2,443. Variable spending, $661. I did add that $18.49 from our vacation sinking fund. We did 0 to savings. I paid $33.13 onto that MasterCard. And the balance is $117. So the income ended up being $155 more. And our fixed expenses were $54 more, and that was just simply because of those subscriptions being moved around. I was under by $10 because we had left ourselves $671 here. And then the rest is 0. I'm going to go this out. So I also have this sticker pack with my budget planner. I think I'll use this sticker. New fridge. $1,310. All right. So now I'm going to actually erase what I owe on these debts on these credit cards, because obviously that's changed. And I just want to note that all of these variable expenses, as well as any of these highlighted subscriptions, are sitting on our MasterCard. So you'll see the balance that I'm carrying forward in my checking account is more than the 117 left over, and that's because these expenses are sitting on that credit card, which I'm going to be paying off. Owing on the MasterCard right now is $35.48. And I returned the refrigerator part, so that was on my Visa. So now I owe $12.26. So total owing is $53.95. So this statement is out, and this is due July 29th. So we'll be paying that with Paycheck 2. And then this is due August 4th. And we'll be paying that balance with Paycheck 3. And then this is due around August 12th. Plus, we'll have a little bit more added to it, and that is due in the first pay in August. So we'll address that high balance as we go. And all I'm going to do for the next pay is do my very best to continue to cut down on our variable spending, and hopefully no other emergencies come up. So I've put my opening balance. So this is the cash that's left in my checking account right now, $943. And that's what I'm heading into payday tomorrow with. Thanks for joining me on this wild ride of Paycheck 1 in July. And if you're interested in getting this budget planner, please check out my Etsy shop. The link is in the description below. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.